Vern Rubey was born in New Ulm, Minnesota. And what else?
What was your birthday?
Birthday is 23rd December 1928.
And what did your parents do?
My dad worked in a Eagle Roller Mill in New Ulm, Minnesota. Yeah, he's a immigrant. He came over from Germany when he was 10 years old.
How many siblings do you have?
I had 2 sisters and 1 brother. Both my sister and my brother passed away already. I have 1 sister remaining, Mary and Phoebe. Were from New Ulm.
What was growing up in New Ulm like in the 1930s?
Well, it was a depression. Remember that, the big depression. I went to school in Cathedral, New Ulm, Minnesota, and grade school and high school. And right after high school, I enlisted in the Minnesota Army National Guard. And I was discharged from the Minnesota Army National Guard 23rd of December 1988. 42 years I have a service. I have a military family. I think I have about 180 days continuous military service between all my relatives, brothers or sons, brothers, sisters, son-in-law. So I think I'm proud of the fact that we have a military family. Yeah.
Where did your siblings serve?
My brother-in-law served in World War II for 36 months. He was overseas. And my 2 of my sons were in the National Guard for 25 and 28 years. I have a granddaughter, and 2 granddaughters that were in the Guard for a number of years, 7 years and 12 years. And see who's left. My grandson is still in the service. He had 3 deployments, and one in the recent years, 1 in Italy, 1 in Iraq, 1 in Kuwait. And now he's in the Guard yet to 17 years. He's going to his 18th year now. And of course, I was in all my life in our Guard. I worked full-time for the National Guard at New Ulm after I got back from Korea. So I have 42 years of service myself.
Wow.
Yep.
Why did you choose to enlist?
I enlisted in New Ulm Armory, National Guard Armory, New Ulm, Minnesota, 17th April 1947. That I don't forget. So I stayed in Ulm. I worked there in the Armory of New Ulm all my life till my 60th birthday, and that's then you get out. Yeah. The Korean War came along, and Minnesota National Guard were mobilized, and of course I was in the Guard. So we got deployed to Fort Rucker, Alabama for additional training. And from there we were picked as individuals to go to Korea. So after 4 months at Fort Rucker, I got called to go to Korea while I was home on furlough. I was called up to come back as soon as possible. You're going to Korea. So that's how I got to go to Korea. I'm a volunteer, but I didn't volunteer for Korea, but I volunteered for the National Guard. So that was my mission. So that was there while I was there. Yep.
What were you doing right before you enlisted in the National Guard?
Well, it was right after high school, actually. But I did work for the public utilities in New Ulm, Minnesota, as a lineman for a couple of years before I left.
So when your National Guard unit was called up, what kind of went through your mind at that time?
Well, I had a girlfriend for 4 years, about 5 years. But she was in high school and I was in high school. So we decided to get married before I left. So we got notified a few days before Christmas of 1950. And a few weeks later we left for Fort Rucker, Alabama. Yeah. So after that, of course, I got called to go to Korea in August of 1951, and we got married 10 days before I left. I forgot to mention that. We were married. So she lived in Clinton, Iowa, my wife at that time, with her sister. And when I got home, well, I went back to work for just a short time for the public utilities, and then I got employed by the Department of Military Affairs for the state of Minnesota for the rest of my life. I didn't know them. So my active duty in National Guard time was 42 years. So now I'm U.S. Army retired. I enjoyed my work very much. Met a lot of good people, young people.
What is it about the military work that you enjoyed?
Well, we a technician in the national. The program just got started right after the war, so we did most everything. We did all the personnel work, the finance, the supply work, everything that is involved with the military. Yeah. So that's how I got to meet a lot of people, know of them and all their background.
When you went to Korea, where did you land at?
Incheon. It's right outside of Seoul, Incheon, Korea. Of course, then went to reception station. I left, by the way, I was infantry branch, platoon sergeant. I never did that work. When I went to Rucker, they called me to be a drill sergeant and train new recruits coming in that were drafted because we had to fill our ranks. So when I got called to Korea here, I went as a platoon sergeant infantry. Well, I thought this might be the end of me. But the funniest thing happened, the best thing that maybe happened, for me, I mean, was all of a sudden I got to the reception station and I found out I was going to the artillery. So that changed the branch. So that probably was a good thing for me. I was in service battery, 135th Field, 38th Field Artillery, 2nd Infantry Division, for all the time, as their first sergeant. Mm-hmm. So.
Can you tell me, are there any stories or experiences from that time that you remember?
Well, no, not really. But the artillery moves back and forth quite a bit, so we go from one end of the peninsula to the other end, and supporting the infantry. And we were always from 2 to 8 miles behind the front lines. We could hear them, but that's about it. So I enjoyed that type of work.
What were your duties specifically?
I was the first sergeant of a service battery. That's a unit in the artillery. Yeah, that was my full-time job. Yeah. So I heard a lot of noise. I was not on the front lines, so but close enough. Yeah.
Can you kind of paint a picture for me? What did you see or what did you hear?
Well, I saw most of Korea, South Korea, North Korea, and like I said, I heard a lot of shooting going on, so it's close enough for that. But I wasn't directly involved with the infantry. We just supported the infantry.
Can you kind of describe for me, like, what does artillery support do and what does that look like?
Well, we were 105 military outfit, 105. And we'd support maybe one division one day, a month or weeks or a month later, we'd move over to the other end of the island, support another battalion. So I don't remember all the battalions that we stopped for, but we saw most of Korea. But of course, it was pretty well destroyed, the areas where we were in. Felt sorry for the civilians living there. Yeah. I did go back to Korea with a visit program with my wife in 1995, I believe it was. And the people are very friendly, the Korean people. In fact, one little girl, maybe 3rd or 4th grade, come up to me. I still remember her looking up to me, and she says to me, "Thank you for saving Korea." I said, "Oh, that's the right little girl." Yeah. But when we were back, all the people, I think, in fact, most of the Koreans, they take English course in school now. Most of them talk English, so we could converse real good. We enjoyed that, yeah. They're very, very friendly, supportive. Yeah, not just the young people, the old people also. It's quite an experience, I suppose I can say.
Getting to see the transition and what Korea has become. How does that feel to have been a
Oh,
part of that?
I was very surprised. When we came there, of course, in Shan, they picked us up by bus and took us to Seoul, Korea to stay there for. We stayed there. They toured us. They gave different tours. And this is all on the South Korean government furnished. The tour guide and everything for 1 week in a motel, nice motel. So we got to see a lot of the smaller towns too. But of course, the Korea that I saw back in '51 is no longer there. Seoul had big high-rise buildings, everything modern. Highways are good. Streets, no, we didn't highways and streets. I know when I was there, so I was very, very surprised to see it. All that happened in almost 60 years, you know. But I think it was a good thing that did happen at the time and keep this Korea democratic, you know. It's getting, I just read it lately, they're getting to be very religious people too, in certain religions.
What do you think of U.S.-Korea relations?
Very good. Yeah, I think it's, as it can turn out, you know, they used to call it the police action years ago. It was not a war. Well, there was 34,936 military people were killed in Korea. So they finally, I think only about 3-4 years ago, Congress decided to, and they passed a bill that they call it the Korean War instead of the Korean police action. Like I said, there's many American young people and older people, I suppose, got killed. So, of course, war is not good for anybody, but it happened, you know, it happens all the time. My grandson now has had 3 tours of active duty with the National Guard also. And now he's got 17 years on. So he hopes to retire after he's got 20 sometime. It's a good program for the young people. Got good medical insurance and some other benefits that they have earned. My oldest son, was a major when he got out. And he worked for the post office all his life.
So what was the date that you rotated home from Korea?
About 30 August 1952. Well then, yeah, I stayed. I just switched over then from National Guard for military duty to National Guard duty. Of course, that's where I worked then.
And where were you when the armistice was signed?
I was home, of course. That's June 1953. So I had been home a year already. So I suppose I was at home working. Yeah.
Around here, what was the response like when the war ended?
Well, I don't really know what the response was. I remember one thing. I came home. I was working, mowing the lawn by my dad and Ma's house, and the neighbor come over, a very nice neighbor all the time. Well, he says, Vern, where have you been the last year? He didn't know I was gone, so I don't know, maybe many people didn't follow the Korean War, I don't know.
After being discharged from active duty, what did you go on to do?
Okay, I was a technician with the Minnesota Army National Guard. That was my full-time job then, right in Nome, my hometown. I worked right in the Army there. But I did it all, like I said, we took care of everything, the personnel work and the finance and logistics and everything involved with the enlisting. And also in the National Guard then, I was assigned as a first sergeant of that unit, which the rank I had already in Korea, but I had got that back home again in Nome.
So how did your wartime experiences affect your life?
Well, I'll think about it, of course, is when all through the years. Well, you're in a foreign country. It was weather is just like here in Minnesota. In fact, it got 30 degrees below zero at one time when I was over there. But we had no buildings, of course. So the experience you have is you live in the hills for a year, summer, winter, fall. So that it's not the easiest part, but it's got to be done, I suppose. One thing, you know, when I left Korea, well, the monsoons came. So we were, our unit was parked right behind a small stream. And it rained and rained and rained. And we couldn't get out of our, we were up against the hill. We couldn't get out over the stream. It was like the Mississippi River. So here, then I get my notice if I ought to go home and rotate. So, well, they couldn't get me out. Couldn't drive to it. It's too deep. And so I finally walked out across the hills. Got to a bridge. I got to a bridge. And that's how I left Korea. And we went on the ship in Incheon again. And, I believe we stopped in Korea also again before we went home. And I think we were parked there for 3 or 4 days. Couldn't leave. There was a big storm out in the ocean, so they didn't let us out. I don't remember the names of the ships. I know came over on. It takes about, well, I know on the way home it took 18 days on the ocean. And there's many other GIs over there. Like I think it was 5,000 people on that ship. Yeah. All military people going home.
Is there any piece of wisdom or like a message that you would like to communicate to younger generations?
Well, you know, it always seems to be a war someplace along the line, or wars. And it can't be helped. There's nothing we can do about it. So I would support the young people that, if they're all interested, get in the military, some kind of military branch, Army, Navy, Marine, Coast Guard. It's a good program for them, and you get good experience all the way. And even if you don't stay in the military, you get, it's good for your for your future work, whatever you do. Most likely your employers would maybe look at for the military experience as a good program, and well, I think it's good for young people.